binge watching anime prevented me from procrastinating. Hear me out. When the pandemic hit and upended our routines, many of us found ourselves with unexpected free time. Some people took up baking sourdough bread, others started knitting, but me, I discovered that binging shows would surprisingly lead me to have incredible productive efficiency. This isn't your typical productivity advice, but my personal experience has shown me that sometimes our guilty pleasures can transform into motivational tools when properly harnessed. During quarantine, with everything from Zoom classes to gyms being shut down and social distancing being in full effect, I had this vast amount of free time. Friends had been recommending me various anime for a while, and honestly seeing that Travis Scott's favorite show was One Piece kind of pushed me over the edge and influenced me to watch it. Straight up! What started as casual curiosity quickly turned into what I'd call an addiction. Naruto, One Piece, Steins Gate, I just kept watching stuff and I just couldn't quench the thirst. I mean, after catching up on One Piece, virtually nothing feels like a long binge. I mean, what is it now? 1,122 episodes? Come on. And I still want more.
I need it!
I started to just watch entire seasons in single sittings. I'm self-aware to understand that this was digital escapism, but it did provide a break from the bleak conditions created by the pandemic. I noticed something as my binging intensified and the amount of shows I watched just continued to rack up. Rather than falling into a pattern of neglecting responsibilities, I found myself becoming more efficient with my time despite attending one of the most hard colleges in the US. This wasn't the result of some newfound self-discipline or productivity system I'd heard about. It was entirely derived from a simple desire. I wanted to maximize my anime watching time. This desire to maximize my indulgence created a strong incentive to complete my work quickly, efficiently, and correctly. Instead of viewing my responsibilities as obstacles to avoid, they became obstacles standing between me and finding out what would happen in the next episode or the next show that I would watch. This shift in perspective resulted in me rarely ever having pending work, since I don't tend to sit on things. Funnily enough, in retrospect, I did a similar thing with YouTube in high school and prior. The faster I completed my tasks, the more free time I earned. It was a simple logical conclusion, but it was the backbone of increasing my productivity. I feel like traditional productivity is often driven by deadlines and consequences.
Gotcha,
My own mindset was reward-based, making it possible to experience my free time between assignments without the impending stress of upcoming deadlines. This mental framework honestly created a cycle. It's completing work efficiently, which led to more watch time, and then that made me more satisfied, but then that also gave me more motivation to tackle my work more efficiently, which led to me having even more watch time, and so on. I broke free of the familiar cycle of procrastination followed by stressful cramming that most students seem to find themselves in. This framework for productivity works for several psychological reasons, honestly. First, it creates a direct connection between completing tasks and receiving immediate rewards, something our brains are wired to respond to positively. Traditional productivity advice often focuses on delayed gratification and long-term benefits, which our brains find harder to prioritize. Having an immediate concrete reward, like more episodes to watch, created a much stronger motivation than abstract concepts like being responsible. Second, the system introduces a sense of urgency that's healthier than deadline pressure. When nothing compelling awaits us after completing work, putting things off becomes the default. However, when something genuinely exciting is waiting, something that makes us think, I would do anything to have more time for this, we become remarkably efficient at clearing obstacles from our paths. This urgency operates differently from deadline pressure because it's driven by anticipation of something positive instead of fear of negative consequences. It's the difference between running towards something you want versus running away from something you fear. I mean, the worst thing that happens is I have to spend more time on completing an assignment, which I started as early as I could. And these few assignments that require more time just limit my free time for whatever short period they take up before they're due. Third, the system naturally encourages focused work periods followed by genuine breaks. I discovered that I worked most efficiently when I committed to completing specific tasks before allowing myself to watch shows. This created a natural workflow similar to that Pomodoro, Porco Rosso, My Neighbor Totoro technique, but with my satisfying rewards instead of that measly little 5-minute break. Like I'm about to watch a fourth of an episode, like be real for right now. While my productivity is centered around something as degenerate as anime, I think a benefit of this approach is its adaptability.
I mean, I used to do it similarly with YouTube prior anyways.
The fundamental principle, using something you genuinely enjoy as motivation for completing work efficiently, can be applied with virtually any activity that brings you joy. The requirements are, first, the reward activity must genuinely excite you, something that makes you think, finally, I get to do this now, rather than just a mild distraction. This could be gaming, reading, cooking, hiking, playing or watching sports, socializing, or any other activity you truly look forward to. Second, you need to make sure that being more productive and time efficient with your work doesn't put your accuracy at risk. The quality of your work must still be at the standards you hope to achieve, which honestly should be the best.
You ducked out yet?
No, Dad, I'm 12.
After all, this would just amount to wasting your time if you don't actually have the results to back up or justify your use of free time. Third, establish clear boundaries between work and reward periods. The most challenging aspect is often maintaining these boundaries. I actually didn't go to my school's library to do work in the entirety of my undergrad. I worked best within the confines of my own room, and I always have. I think that being in an environment like that would actually make me more prone to distraction, which would make me less productive. I mean, a lot of us have probably been in those gaming lobbies late at night talking about run it back so that we can end on a dub. Stopping after just one episode or gaming session takes considerable willpower, especially with cliffhanger endings or losing streaks. However, this challenge is also what makes the system effective. The desire to continue with the reward activity becomes fuel for the next work session. My productivity system suggests an alternative approach. Instead of fighting against our desires, we harness them as powerful motivational tools. By aligning our work habits with our genuine interests, we create sustainable productivity systems that work with our psychology rather than against it, giving freedom from procrastination. This approach challenges the false dichotomy between work and play that permeates much of contemporary culture. We often assume that productivity requires minimizing enjoyment and that leisure activities are inherently unproductive. I think that reality is more nuanced, as everyone has their own interests, and so strategic enjoyment can actually enhance productivity, while attempting to eliminate all pleasurable activities often backfires. The key insight from my experience is that our passions and interests need not be enemies of productivity. They can become its greatest allies when properly structured. By creating clear connections between completing necessary tasks and engaging in activities you genuinely enjoy, we can develop sustainable productivity systems that work with our psychology rather than against it. Employing this strategy allowed me to achieve success while attending one of the top colleges in the US. While this approach might not work for everyone, if you find yourself struggling with procrastination, consider what activity you're genuinely excited about, the thing you wish you had more time for. Then, instead of viewing it as a distraction to be minimized, maybe try and experiment with using it as a strategic reward for completed activity. You don't need no Pomodoro, Porco Rosso, My Neighbor Totoro method for real. You might discover, as I did, that the key to productivity isn't necessarily working harder or longer, but instead having something you find engaging waiting for you when the work is done. Please like and subscribe.